Hello again.
I picked up for today a very interesting question for you. This will be about sanctioned interpretations, which were never spoken by us.
No, I think it's a really good question because, to be honest, I think a lot of people working in the 82,000 certified IATF 16949 organizations do not really understand the concept of what a sanctioned interpretation is for. So I think, first of all, we should explain that a sanctioned interpretation is issued by IATF, and a sanctioned interpretation changes an IATF or an IATF rule requirement. Yeah, so it changes the requirement. So I think the reason that IATF implemented this is typically the IATF standard is reviewed nominally every 5 years. But we all know that the automotive industry is very dynamic. Things change. So IATF don't want to wait 5 years to issue a change requirement. So at the beginning of the IATF scheme, they set up this thing called sanctioned interpretation, where if IATF feel that based upon user feedback or even the IATF OEM member feedback, that there is the need to change a requirement, they can do it very quickly. And the way they do that is by issuing on the IATF Global Oversight website, they issue these things called sanctioned interpretations. And for IATF, there's been, as we speak, I think 22 separate changes, 22 sanctioned interpretations for the IATF standard itself.
Recently, IATF organization issued quite frequently sanctioned interpretations, yes. And of course, sanctioned interpretation, by their idea of changing the meaning of some clauses, also are required by internal auditors to follow them.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Isn't it too comprehensive recently? Like, for instance, we also got recent changes on sanctioned interpretation about cybersecurity in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
Is it too much?
And I'm 100% agree with you that I don't think there's enough thought put in to auditor competency when they issue the sanction interpretations. Now, by auditor competency, I mean internal audit, second-party auditors, and even the third-party auditors. Now, I would be the first to admit that as a trainer of auditors, I'm not a cybersecurity expert. So I can't train people what to look for related to cybersecurity. You need an expert who has that technological background to know what systems are good when we talk about cybersecurity. So I think some of these sanction interpretations get issued without due thought about how are they going to be effectively audited. And I think the other danger is IATF 16949 is a quality management system standard for the automotive supply chain. It is not an IT security standard. There are other standards published by ISO and other international bodies that focus in depth on the subject of cybersecurity. So I think there needs to be more thought given when a sanction interpretation is issued, not just about let's just change the requirement, but how is that requirement going to be audited effectively by internal auditors? How's it going to be audited by second-party auditors? And how's it going to be audited by third-party auditors? And how will the auditors have the relevant competencies to do that? So I think there needs to be more thought given. The other problem I have with sanction interpretations is like sanction interpretation 10, they issue it, they then change it, then they change it again, then they change it again. So I think sanction interpretation 10 has been through 4 changes related to external lab. I've read that 5 times and I still can't understand what the final requirement is because it's been changed so many times. So I think they need to rethink. My view would be that they have to say what was the requirement before the change and what was the requirement after the change.
Mhm.
At the moment, they're trying to cross things out and do things in different colors. So I think, you need a degree in English to find out what is the final requirement that I have to audit against. And if I can't understand it, and I'm working with IATF every day, what chance do other people stand? So I
Yeah.
think, Mr. IATF, I think you have some work to do to make this clearer.
Well, so to emphasize, sanctioned interpretation really have to be followed by internal auditors as well. We know that there's a lot of changes. We know that there's a lot of additional knowledge, but unfortunately, this is a must.
It is. Yeah, it is. And what advice I would give is you can get these free. You can download them free from the IATF Global Oversight.
Yeah.
And on that website, there is a subscribe button. So if you put your email into that subscribe, as an internal auditor, you would be automatically notified of any changes. So I recommend as many people do that, because you don't get junk mail, you only get the changes that are issued by IATF.
Thank you, Paul, for answering me to this question. And let me invite you for the next, unfortunately, last question.
Right. Okay. I look forward to it.